Alright, welcome back to a video of Davian's collection of VHS, DVDs, games, and more. Today I got not one, but 45, that's right, 45 new VHSs in my collection. And enough by these 45, I actually got them for free. So these are the 45 I got, including the Disneys now. I am starting to collect Disney videos and DVDs. It's gonna be freaking epic. Now let's get on to the video. For this video, I'll be splitting it into parts because of the storage. Starting with these two videos here, we got Walt Disney's classic, The Jungle Book. It's one of my Jungle Book videos. And it works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is February 11th, 1991. Next up is Once Upon a Forest. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Many of the Disney videos have bad cases, so I don't need to get new cases though. Print date is the 53rd week of 1993. We're now viewing the VHSs from this box here, starting with this Disney's Pocahontas. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is January 5th, 1996. Next up is The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Print date is September 25th, 1998. Next up is The Little Drummer Boy. Print date is the 40th week of 2004. Even though it is a 2002 video, here's Care Bears with these two episodes here. The one without the previews and warnings. It has an old look in and it works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is An American Tail. The original one works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is the 31st week of 1998. Next up is George and the Jungle. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is October 5th, 1997. Next up is Happily Ever After. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Cats and Dogs. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is August 28th, 2001. Next up is the original Toy Story. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is September 8th, 1996. Almost, I think it's a couple days after the series premiere of Blue's Clues. Next up is Pinocchio, my first copy. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. The case is in beat up shape, so I'll probably have to get a new case for it. Here's the tape itself. Print date is April 3rd, 1993. 2 days after April Fool's Day. Case still closes, but it has damage. Next up is Spider-Man and the Return of Green Goblin. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. And the coolest thing about it is that it has a blue top. Print date is October 7th, 2002. Next up is Spirit, Stallion of the Carmelian, the scanner video. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date's November 30th, 2002. Next up is Teletubbies and Nursery Rhymes. Works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date's February 4th, 1999. Next up is All Dogs Go to Heaven. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is January 5th, 1995. It has invisible ink right here. Next up is Babe Pig in the City. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is the 15th week of 1999. Next up, it's gotta be Disney's very first movie ever, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. The front and the corners are a little damaged right here. Print date is May 28th, 1994. Next up is An American Tail 5 Goes West. Also works fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date is the 8th week of 1992. Got a couple more to show you. Next up is the Little Mermaid that works totally fine with no issues whatsoever, and print date's February 11th, 1998. Next up is Buzz Lightyear of Star Command that works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date's June 27, 2000. Next up is Lady and the Tramp, the one I have on DVD but I don't have in my collection yet. Works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. And print date is July 25th, 1998. Next up is Lilo and Stitch that works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Print date September 27th, 2002. Next up is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie that works totally fine with no issues whatsoever. Next up is Ants. Print date is December 30th, 1998, and that is part 1 of 45 new VHSs in my collection. This is Davian's collection of VHS, DVDs, games, and more. Thank you for watching. I hope you like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you again in my next video.